That's better if you can do that. Lovely. Thanks, Judy. Hi, Sharon.
Uh,
Hey, Judy.
why can't I see myself?
Hmm. You've probably hidden your self view. I don't know if
Where
you
am
know
I?
how to do that. Undo that. On the
Where?
top right of your screen, there's a view, and you'll see show self view or hide self view. Fourth one down. I hope that makes sense.
It makes sense.
I choose to actually have my self view off always because I've learned it's distracting for me.
There I am. Now,
Now you can see the, yeah.
now you can see. Okay, that's good.
Did you
After all,
attend the board meeting yesterday?
oh, I did. We have some hot news.
Okay, well, I would ask you now, but let's save it till people have joined in. They probably want to hear
Okay,
it too.
no problem.
Thanks, Judy.
No problem.
Evening, folks who are joining. It is 6:30 now, but I think we're going to have a few more people, so we're going to wait just a few minutes before we get going. I'll give it max till 6:35.
Sharon, did you need something?
Hi, Kevin, and
That's Will.
thank you. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure I'm doing everything right here.
We can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. Hi, Paul. Hi, Judy.
Sharon.
Hi, Sherman.
Evening, Stefan. Welcome to the meeting. We're just going to give it 3 more minutes max, and then we'll get going.
Okay.
Evening, Margie.
Hi, Margie.
I'm glad we waited. Hey, Matt. Welcome. Hey, Chloe. We'll give it a couple more minutes. People seem to be joining now. Kevin, can we do something a bit different this time? I want to just have everyone unmuted very briefly now, just for the start. We're such a
Sure.
small group. I'd like each person to feel free just to introduce themselves while we're waiting for folks. I'll call people's names that I can see the order of on my screen. Start with Judy, please.
Hi, Judy Birdie. How long have I been on the Roosevelt Island Committee?
Much
At
longer
least
than me.
5 years at least. I don't know. I don't know. Sharon is on about the same amount of time. Also the Historical Society, also Kohler Auxiliary, and only been on the island 46 years. Sharon and I are about the same. We're lifers.
Thank you, Judy. Let's move on to Sharon next.
Hi, Sharon. Oh my goodness. Okay, you know what? Why don't I start with that? First of all, hi everybody. My name is Sharon Paul Marshall, and I am a member of Community Board 8 and a Roosevelt Island resident for as long as Judy and perhaps as long as Margie. So we got some longtime residents on the call, and so happy to see everybody.
Thanks, Sharon. Let's move on to Margie next.
Okay, Margie Smith. Yeah, I've been here since 77, so I guess we're pretty much all been here a while. What am I now? Let's see. I'm on the River Cross board. I'm on a member of the Roosevelt Island Visual Art Association, Reaver, former REOC board member, former vice president of Residents Association. A lot of formers here, but still very interested in what's going on and hoping we can change things.
Lovely.
And Paul,
Thank
you're doing a great
And
job with that.
you live to tell the tale through all of that.
Right.
Sorry,
We didn't scare you away.
Yeah. Paul, you're doing a great job with that petition.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you very much. I'll come back to that in a few minutes. Thank you. Chloe, evening.
Hi, I just live in the Octagon. I've been here for 3 years, a little over. That's it.
Thank you, Chloe. Matt.
Sorry.
I'm on to Matt next. Thank you, Chloe.
Oh,
Matt Waldman lived on Roosevelt Island for a couple of years, Roosevelt landings, and I've been helping working with Paul on some transportation issues.
In fact, I will say now, just it's a good opportunity to thank Matt. I don't know, I'm not sure if people here are aware, but on this WhatsApp group that we have, Matt takes care of about 95 or more % of all the transit issues. So we're certainly both in communication with the MTA, but Matt's clearly taking the lead in helping solve some of the questions people brought up. So first of all, thank you to Matt for all of that. And then secondly, when we come onto the agenda, Matt's kindly agreed, to be here with me to talk about transit stuff if there are any questions. Thank you, Matt. And then
Thank you,
Stefan,
Matt.
I've got.
Hi, Steve Silverstein. I've been a Roosevelt Island resident since 2006. And thank you for having the meeting. I'm joining the committee meeting for the first time. A lot of concerns about the dysfunction of governance right now. So
Good. Glad to have you. Thank you, Steve. Let me introduce myself to you, or those who don't know me. I'm Paul Crickler. I've been here for 3 years. I joined Community Board 8 about 2 years ago and joined this committee then. And I was co-chair with my predecessor, Lynn, for about a year. And frankly, I didn't quite know what to do when Lynn she moved elsewhere in the country earlier this year. I didn't really know what to do with this committee, so I let it be dormant for a while. And then the F-train rehab happened, and there was a massive amount of need for people to have a forum, and it seemed pretty obvious to me that this could be that forum. So I started having meetings again in September when the MTA stuff happened. I've had a couple of meetings since then. They've been on Zoom. My hope for this forum is that it's a forum for the folks who live here, so we have a voice. And I don't want to force this meeting on people. If there isn't enough interest, we won't carry on with it. But if there is interest, I'm very happy to carry on with it. For those who don't know, also, I've been running this petition to get us better governance and better representation, and we can talk about that later as well. That's one of the main reasons for being here. I guess we probably have all the people we're going to have for now, so I will start. We were supposed to have 2 items on the agenda. The first item was going to be a REOC update, which we've had at each of the last couple of meetings. And unfortunately, I got a phone call from REOC a couple of days ago saying they would not be participating. And I'm not going to go into all the details. I think everyone on this call can work out, in their own mind what's going on. I think it's a terrible move for them to decide not to participate. The words they use, where we're going to reevaluate in January onwards to see if we'll participate. From my perspective, and by the way, I don't think this is not a view that's held necessarily within REOC by everybody, but for those people who've made decisions, that's the view they have. The way I've seen this forum, this meeting with REOC coming, it's I think the last place where REOC and the residents, us, have a constructive forum. We've had Bryant coming along to our meetings. He's been very helpful. He's been helpful in all sorts of other ways to lots of people here as well. And I was hoping that would continue. So I think it's a real shame that that's the decision taken by REOC. I think it really hurts them as well. In place of that, there's the second agenda item we will come on to, which is about governance and representation. But we can take a few minutes here, I think, if people have an interest in any issues about transit, MTA, stuff like that, while Matt's here and I'm here. So Judy's waving a finger somewhere. Yes.
Well, I went to the REOC meeting last night. According to Shelton, the subway phase 2, the second track, is going to start around January 5th or 6th. They had a vote again, and they tabled the motion to make Mary Cuney CEO. And this is the second time the board has refused to certify her. And apparently Shelton wants her. So, but this woman has not been appointed as COO, Chief Operating Officer, which, yes, Margie, she's very unpopular amongst the residents here. So that was, they went into executive session over this, which was interesting. And she just is not liked by the staff, especially, and by the other people who work here. So I don't know how long this is going to go on, but maybe this is the reason that you're not getting any response from REOC, is that they're, aside from Shelton, his PR man quit, Akeem quit. So it's always interesting to go to REOC meetings and see what this sniping going on between the people who are suing each other and sitting next to each other at meetings. It's very interesting.
Judy, was there anything else? I couldn't make it to the board meeting yesterday. Anything else noteworthy from that board meeting?
I mean, they didn't know. They really didn't. That the subway, that thing, and they thanked people for the Christmas tree lighting, and they really didn't announce anything except for the subway. That was it.
Yes, Steve, please.
Just a note, if someone wants to speak during this forum, you can raise your hand by going to the reactions icon and pressing raise hand. So Steve, you're up next.
They did approve the budget, and transportation related, the budget is based on a 53% increase in tram revenue, which they're attributing to increased ridership, not to a more advantaged revenue share with the MTA, and it's a totally unrealistic projection. And I don't know what they're going to do if they can't, if the actuals are not living up to that budget. And the variances should become apparent very early in the year. I don't know where they're going to make up that revenue shortfall.
Thank you, Steve. Anything? I'll make one comment quickly. You meant, oh, sorry, Margie has a hand up. Please, Margie.
Just one technical thing. It wasn't CEO that Mary Canine was up for. It was COO. So Sheldon will continue as CEO. But I have a transportation question. I was just looking at the new bus route, and for the 102 that's going away and becoming the 104, and I see it doesn't go to Queensboro Plaza or Queens Plaza or wherever everybody can connect to the grid. Does anybody know if that's going to go in place while the F train issue is still going on? Because there'll be no way to get to Queens Plaza or Queensboro Plaza, because my understanding was that REOC stopped the red bus that was going there too.
Anyone know?
No, this is, I think, at least 6 months. I think there's a 60-day comment period that the MTA, I know someone on Passengers United and who went to the meetings, and there's at least a 60-day comment period. And plus they must have meetings in every single community board. That's all the community boards in Queens that are affected. And this route is it's terrible for Roosevelt Island. You'd leave the island, go on Vernon Boulevard, go up Broadway, which intersects only with two local stations. One is elevated, the N train, and it's not an accessible station. And then going to Northern Boulevard to the R train, which is a local stop, and it's about 10 or 15 blocks from Queens Plaza. But for some reason, it doesn't go to Queens Plaza. It goes on Northern Boulevard. It's thoroughly useless. And you would have to change buses, probably at 21st Street, to go to Queens Plaza.
Yeah.
And I think it's also very bad for the people who live in Queensbridge, because the bus is going to avoid going through their neighborhood where on 41st, where a lot of people get the bus. And I gather there's going to be a lot of protesting over this.
Thank you, Judy. In fact, I know that Matt was actually at the meeting, I think, yesterday. So let's unmute Matt, please.
Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yes, so it sounds like it's going to be at least about a year till any of this is like implemented. There's still like a very long review period. They'll be going around to different areas of Queens to kind of get public comment. So it looks like, you know, the F train will be back up and running before this goes into effect. But just to note, I'm pulling it up now. So the new Q104, according to the MTA's map, the Broadway NW stop, they're saying that at least on this page, it's an accessible station. Does anyone know if that is accessible? Because I think that's that's elevated track.
Yeah, it is an elevated track. I was there last week on the N and Broadway. I didn't see any signs of an accessible
Okay,
station.
so I'm not too familiar with that stop, but on the MTA on the Q104 route profile that they share for Q104, there is a handicap symbol on there. So maybe that was an error on their end, but I don't. I'm looking at the MTA accessible stations, and I'm not seeing Broadway listed on
So
that.
Matt, I'm looking at the MTA map now, and it does not have the little accessibility thing next to its name, and lots of other places do. If you're
Yeah, so
talking
what
about
I'm thinking is, I think Astoria Boulevard is also an NW stop, and that one is accessible.
yes, it
So
is.
what I'm thinking is maybe it could be an error on the MTA's part. So there's that stop, and then there's also the 46th Street MR, which is also not accessible. And then the last stop of the Q104 is the 7 train at 46th Street. That station they're saying is accessible, and let me see.
On the 7 train.
Yeah, but it's not
It
listed
doesn't.
on the
No,
MTA
it's not.
page. So I'm not sure if you know what they're considering accessible, or I'm not sure what's going on with that. But we should definitely follow up. So there is a page. I can share this with Paul, or we can circulate it around. The MTA has this. It's a platform remix.com page. So it has all of the proposed routes for Queens. It has all the proposed timetables, the stops, and everything on it. And you can leave a comment on the page. You can click on the location, drop a comment. We say that we want to stop at this location, or we don't need to stop here, whatever it is. You can click a point on the map, put your comment, and submit it, and the MTA is reading all of them.
So Kevin, is it possible if Kevin, if
So
Matt could drop
I
that
just turned on the share screen function. So Matt, if you want to share your screen, you
Yeah.
can do that.
But actually, could you share the link
Yeah, I'll
Matt-
share the link as well.
Kevin, if Matt shares that with you, can you share it to the whole room, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so are you able to see the screen here?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the Q104. It's highlighted here. Let's see. So use this green. By clicking on that, the Q104 Sunnyside Roosevelt Island. Just to note, there will be no bus service south of the tram. So we'll just kind of circle around. And then these are the stops. So just to zoom in here, this is Roosevelt Island bound. So if we switch it to Sunnyside, the first stop is at Roosevelt Island Station, train station. Second stop is the library, and then the last stop before going to the bridge is by the school. So just I did share feedback to the MTA yesterday. We had a meeting. So I shared that the 546 stop is, very central. It has seating, it's covered, protection, accessible to the senior center, and just sharing that that's more of a central location than the school stop. So they are, taking that feedback. And then, as we said, the bus goes onto the bridge, makes a left on Vernon Boulevard, goes past the Costco onto Broadway. And then we'll see, I think this is the Broadway stop, train station. And then there's the 46th Street station. That's not accessible. And then the final stop is the 7 train down here. Another thing to note is the MTA is trying to eliminate buses like running on Queens Plaza North. Maybe because congestion, and we see that with the Q102 is very unreliable. It always gets stuck in traffic. So that's something that is not just for the Q102, but other routes. They're kind of getting around, that Queens Plaza area. And that's pretty much it. And then this is the timetable for the schedule. So you'll see weekdays. It's a bit better than the current Q102 schedule. So every 15 minutes during rush hour, and then it goes back to every 30 minutes during the off-peak period. And then the weekends, it's 30 minutes, beginning to end of the day. I did request the MTA to look into increasing the frequency, midday, weekday, and also on the weekends. I would just suggested maybe like every 15, 20 minutes, something like that would be more reasonable. And then the MTA is also introducing new like rush bus services. So like right now there's select bus, limited bus, and now this rush service it's going to be more for neighborhoods like outside of the central area that will kind of operate like a limited bus to bring people to train stations. And that's pretty much it. But if we go here and we click a point on the island, I think up here there's a post comments, and then you drag wherever you want to leave a comment. If it's about a bus stop or a train station, click on it and then post your comments. Click on the route and whatever else you want to share here.
Hey, Matt. I think I know the answers, but I want to make sure on the other route, on the other way, it goes up to Cola, right? So it doesn't stop going to Cola.
Yeah, so it does go up to Cola on the way, just like as the Q102 does. It's the same. So coming in Roosevelt Island bound, it stops at the post office, River Road, Octagon, Cola. So it's the same thing. The only thing that is changing for Roosevelt Island is it's not going south of the tram. And then we're losing a couple of stops, on the island here.
So one small idea is that if you can share the link to this, Matt, with Kevin, he'll share it with the group. For all those of you who feel so minded, I think it'd be really effective if we all took the time to make a little comment about not having the stop at the library, but having it at 546 outside the senior center. That's one suggestion.
Yeah, also to note, the Roosevelt Island bound does stop at the church. So it just makes sense that it's the same stop for both directions.
Judy, I see your hands up. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say 75% of the people who use the 102 are Kohler staff and Kohler residents. and a lot of them go to Western Queens, especially Jamaica E train, and they have to go to Queens Plaza. Also, when the bus ends, picks people up at Kohler, it then goes down now to the South Point Park, and the drivers take a break, which means people are stuck standing outside the bus for 10 minutes while the driver takes his break at South Point Park, which is very annoying, but this is the end of the route. So I would like to know if they're going to still consider the tram the end of the route, and people can't get on the bus. They have to wait outside until the driver finishes his break. And that happens for the Kohler people going to Queens. They get on the bus at Kohler, get off, have to hang around waiting for the bus to take them back into Queens. And I mean, a lot of the Kohler people have been using the 102 for years, and it shouldn't be made, more difficult. And I think one of the schedules is 30 minutes. And now it's about 20 minutes. And I've been using the 102 because I come home from Kohler, and the 102 is pretty much on time. It's pretty good. I mean, I can tell when it's coming over the bridge, when it's going to the post office. So the MTA website works pretty well with it. It's not perfect, but it's better than standing outside and not knowing where the bus is coming from. But I think the best thing to do is also activate the Kohler residents and the Kohler staff who really needed to go to Queens Plaza. Because what if people in wheelchairs going to do? They're going to get off and they won't be able to go anywhere. They won't be able to connect with anything. We have all these stops, aside from the last stop, that's not accessible. There are a lot of the Kohler residents. I have one who goes to John Jay College by subway. She won't be able to get to West 57th Street on any of this route that they're planning. So, I mean, it was, as usual, done with no consideration of who the passengers are. And probably they have a larger proportion of people with physical handicaps using the 102. A lot of people with walkers, a lot of people who are very permanently disabled, who their only freedom is getting on the bus and getting out and going to places they want to go to. And I think that's something, a motivating force for them, and also for Kohler and all of us to consider them, because we have 500 residents living at Kohler who are part of our community, and they have to be considered. And I'm always up there advocating, when we get the subway. But really, we have to get, this is completely unacceptable. Also, the buses, if they go to Broadway, they're going to get stuck at the traffic at Costco. You know what it's like with that 5-way traffic light at Costco? By the time the bus goes up Vernon Boulevard, it's going to take them another 5 or 10 minutes to get past Vernon Boulevard's corner onto Broadway. It's a terrible idea. Okay.
And also, I will say I took the Q102 this morning. It took 25-30 minutes to get from Roosevelt Island to Queens Plaza, behind all the traffic. So getting into Queens Plaza, going right onto Vernon Boulevard, it does get congested here.
Well, sure. But at least it's getting you somewhere you want to go. I mean, where it's taking people now is completely useless. Taking them all to local subway stations, non-accessible stations. It's just
so Judy, what should we do about this? Because nothing has to be done by us or anyone today.
Well, I really think that the MTA is planning on having these community meetings.
Yeah.
And they'll meet with Community Board 8. I love you guys, but you're the Upper East Side. Come on, You don't care about us. We have to, as the Roosevelt Island Committee, and it has to be a meeting that's on this island with the Kohler and the residents, because they're the ones who need the bus service the most. So really, we can't let the MTA say, oh, we're having a meeting somewhere in Western Queens, because this is the one route we have. Every neighborhood has problems with their routes, I'm sure. But we have to advocate that the MTA has to come here and be heard by the residents of this island, and especially the residents of Kohler.
And I shared, we only have one subway route, one bus route. And if you miss one bus or one train, then, you're kind of really stuck. There's nowhere else to walk to get to another bus or train. So I shared that with them.
I appreciate we all advocate for this with them.
So I guess
also the MTA is going to be sending some kind of like a outreach book or like a pamphlet or information I asked them to send to the Roosevelt Island Senior Center. So they'll be sending that in January.
Well, if it's as incomprehensible as the one they sent for the subway. The trouble is, I'm not good at maps, and I tried to read this yesterday, and it's very complicated. If we want people to understand that we have to have a program and do it for people, many of the seniors don't know how to use this routing system, interactive map. So, and I'm one of them. So, I mean, if you have to explain this to people, the MTA has a habit of throwing 50 new routes in people's faces at one time because they know 49 of them aren't going to complain. This is the way they do business. The less.
So Judy, question for you, Judy. When I read through the stuff briefly yesterday, that they plan to have 11 different meetings for 11 different community boards across Queens, which obviously does not include Roosevelt Island. So I think what you suggest is a great idea, that we ask them to come here for a meeting. Is there a place in Cola they could actually host?
Yeah, there's a room that could host at least 100 people easily. Yes.
So how about if Matt and I take it upon ourselves to draft something and write to the MTA to ask them in that process to come visit here as well? What do you think about that?
Fine. I mean, I'll be glad to put my input into it. But really, I mean, the staff knew nothing about the Q train, nothing about anything. And we can't depend on, sometimes you can't depend on the hospital administration to get this, but these are the working people. These are the people that keep the place going. So, it has to be publicized and, the information gotten out to the staff and residents. It's hard enough to get staff to work at Kohler, and to make it more cumbersome than it already is really challenging.
Your point is very well made, Judy, and taken. Matt, do you want to have a first crack at writing a brief email and we can collaborate together?
Yeah. So just to what I was going to say. So I think maybe about a year ago, the MTA had public information sessions for Queens about all of these routes, and they got a lot of feedback about a handful of routes in particular, and the MTA kind of changed their plans based on that feedback. So they are receptive to hearing feedback, but they have to hear it, otherwise they won't make any change.
I'll remind everyone on this Zoom that, the first iteration of the F train shutdown, which came to us in March of this year or before then, was nothing like the shuttle. It was going to be going all sorts of weird directions to go the other direction, and much more disruptive, if you can imagine it, than what we have now. So Matt's quite right. If we organize well and if we're clear, and I think having a meeting at Cola would be very effective, we hope we can make a change there. Anything else on this subject? I want to move on to, I only see VSM. I don't know what your name is, but your hand's raised. If you could unmute VSM, please.
It's Valerie Mason.
Hey, Valerie. Sorry.
Hey, I want to assure Judy that the community board very much feels that Roosevelt Island is included in our district. And so what I was going to say is we would very much like to at least write a letter or pass a resolution asking for that meeting to be on Roosevelt Island. To address this ridiculous issue of lack of service. So that's all I want to say. I don't want to prolong the discussion, but anything we can do to help along that line, we would be happy to do.
We know we're part of the Upper East Side, Valerie. We're just the farthest part of the Upper East Side.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, well, I feel like I live on the Far East Side too, and I'm on 2nd Avenue. So I can see Roosevelt Island a lot easier than I can see Central Park. So I see you, Judy. I see you. Okay. And we're happy to be a part of it. So
thank you, Valerie.
If you want to pass the resolution, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to be on the meeting, but you can count me as a yes vote. But perhaps we can put a letter together as well, Paul, and send it on behalf of the community board.
That's such a kind and generous idea. Thank you. Yeah. For those who don't know Valerie, Valerie's the incoming chair of Community Board 8. I don't know when you start officially. Is it January?
I think it's January 1st at midnight, but I feel like I've already started. So no big deal.
Thank you. Very constructive suggestion. Thanks, Valerie.
Valerie,
okay, sure thing.
What is your last name, Valerie? I don't know you.
Well, I know you, Judy. My last name is Mason, Mason. We've met, a couple of times through Rebecca Seawright, but don't worry. I've seen you, and you are a very much appreciated voice on behalf of your community.
Thank you.
I think what we might do is Matt and I'll proceed to see if we can get a meeting here on the island, see how that goes. and we'll keep our powder dry, if you like. If there's a resolution that we want to write in the coming 2 or 3 months, we'll then pass the resolution and ask Valerie to help us get that through the board for something more substantial than just a meeting here.
Okay.
Thank you, Valerie. That's
All
lovely.
right. Take care. Happy
Well-
holidays, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Valerie.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else have any transit questions before we move on? The other thing I want to make sure everyone knows here is I want to keep these meetings tight. Some of these CB meetings can go on for hours and hours and hours. There's no need for us to do that, I promise you. So the second agenda item, which is the main one for tonight, is about governance and representation. For those of you on this Zoom who don't know, we started this petition about 6 or 7 weeks ago, reached about 700 people now, just over 700. Kevin has dropped in the link to the petition. I'd make one request of each and every one of you on this call, every single one. I'd like each of you to take it by hand, talking face to face with 5 different people, and watch them sign it. We've got 12,000 or 13,000 or more people on this island. I've been taking time every weekend going to the farmers market. I've been doing some pushing of the petition on social media for the Facebook groups, but I do need some help now from people to widen this. I want to get to 1,000 next. I'd like this group to help me do that. I want to come on to see if there are ideas people have here for this petition and how we can get it more broadly signed and other things we can do. But before I do that, there's a couple of things I did want to say. First of all, I think it's very important we say that there are a lot of people at REOC who do a great job and serve this community very, very well. And I'm not talking about the most senior people here at REOC, but I think it's very important that whenever we have discussions or we write resolutions or we say things, I've been very careful in my petition to make sure we do give credit to those people because we're not talking about them. And I'm sure many of you know these people much better than I do, and Matt does because he's been here a lot longer. The second, the reason I had the petition and I wanted to call for us having the ability to vote for the directors of REOC is I see 2 benefits coming from that. One is that we get better oversight of REOC. Frankly, it would be hard not to get better oversight because there's terrible oversight right now. The way it looks right now is that the REOC executives run the board, and it's the wrong way round. The second thing is, which I think is more, I know, more positive than just something being improved, is there are so many people I've met on this island in the last 3 years who have great ideas, have had great ideas. Some of them have come to fruition, and I'm totally impressed how these things have come to fruition, despite sometimes REOC. But there are so many more ideas that have not come to fruition. And just when I've spoken to people over the past few weeks, especially since the F train, and got to know some of these things, there are so many more things we could be doing that would better serve this community if we had a REOC that was working alongside us for those things. So that's the background. What I'm looking for in this next session, next part of this meeting, is constructive suggestions. I will say up front, I'm a huge believer that if somebody suggests something, they should be prepared to run with it. I'm not a believer in people throwing suggestions into meetings saying, I have this great idea, who's going to go and run with it, and expect someone else to do it. But I hope that doesn't put people off making their thoughts known. The last thing I want to say is my plans or my thoughts so far for what we can do with this petition and this movement. I want to get to 1,000. That's the first point. And I think with 1,000, we have a much better chance of getting meetings. The next meeting of Community Board 8 Roosevelt Islands on January 18th. And I have a commitment from Audrey that we'll have Senator Liz Kruger at that meeting. I haven't asked yet for Rebecca Seawright, but I don't see any problem with getting calendars, assuming free, getting our assembly member here as well. So I'll do some preparation work before that to get people G'd up, but I want those people to hear from lots of people here on the island. So what I will be looking for when you're aware of the meeting is for each of you also to get some people to come. There are tons of people on the island who've got lots of grievances with REOC. I mean, it's countless. It's not like you're asking people to do something that they're not willing to do. More a matter of alerting them to why they should do at this meeting and who these people are. I think our biggest chance is to get some change made. It may not be the change that we're looking for in the petition, is through our state elected officials. I also believe getting some press would be helpful. I've tried some local and bigger press as well without success so far. It'd be magic if somebody here had a great friend who's a reporter at the New York Times on the Metro section, and we can get, I put in touch with that person. Gothamist, Patch, anything like that, just to get some more press, would get some press. I think with 1,000 people, that might be more easy as well. I have a press pack written up, so I'm happy to, introduce people to this. I've been talking for too long right now, so I want to stop. This is the community meeting, not my meeting. So hands up those who have comments on what we can do differently or do to get ourselves a better running place. Deafening silence.
Oh,
Now Judy's got a hand up, yes.
I've never silent, you know that. Well, you have to be careful with the press. Margie will tell you, we have gone to the local press and it's boondoggled us because we ended up sounding like we were spoiled children because we're out here in utopia. And that's how a lot of the press thinks of us. And you show them your problems, you explain everything to them, and they interview 2 or 3 people, and we've had very negative reactions. So we really have to have real firm footing when we do this because it's happened to us. It's almost been a slap in the face, like, these crazy people, they're out there in that perfect community. What are they complaining about? And I think Margie
Good to know.
understands what I'm saying. And she's seen it.
Let's unmute Margie as well, please.
Yeah, in addition to having bad reaction, the press very often gets it wrong. So they say almost what we want to say and make us sound like jerks. But I know you know the history, and I don't want to belabor it, but for those of you who don't know, we've been trying this for what, 35 of the 40 years, Judy? The only place, when we first came here, there was a board and there were no residents on the board. If there was, it was an accident. But there was no law that said there had to be residents. And then a group called Maple Tree, along with RERA, got together. And over time, Governor Pataki, of all people, at least gave us not elected, but representation by the residents, not elected representation, but technically we have a majority on the REAC board. It's a very difficult political thing because the state floated bonds for the building of this island, and they want total control over the finances and the money. And frankly, it's a dumping ground for anybody they owe a favor to. We'll give you a job on Roosevelt Island. So it's very difficult. They don't really care that we get 1,000 petitions. I mean, it's good. And what that moves is our local Liz Kruger, Rebecca Seawright, those guys, to know that we want them to push for it.
Yes.
But even with them pushing for it, they need a lot of political help. And where that's going to come from, I'm just not sure, because the state says we don't want to have people that we don't have control over managing the finances of Roosevelt Island. And that's what will happen if we have elected representation. One thing I would suggest we do, which nobody ever seems to do, is put pressure on the non-elected residents of the island, the Howard Polivys of the world, the David Krauts of the world, and do not let them have a peaceful walk down Main Street without bumping into people saying, what the hell are you doing to us? And they can easily walk down and nobody says a word because a lot of people don't know who they are. But I think we need to start saying to them, you're not representing us right. We've got 3 new board members who are trying to do it. They're not getting a lot of success because the other resident board members aren't backing them up. And maybe they would, because we do have the majority vote on that board. We're just not using it. So while they may not be elected, they are residents and they could change things if they chose to, but right now they don't choose to.
I have a question for you, Margie. On that point, the last board meeting I went to was the previous one, not the one yesterday. And I noticed that Howard did seem to side with, I think he was the one who helped get the vote to.
He got it tabled. He got the vote for Mary Kineen tabled. He just had no choice. I mean, he was so on the spot that he just didn't know what to do. But he has certainly not been. And I got to say, I love Ben to death. I love what he's doing, but he's getting pushback from some of the other board members because he's in their face and he's not giving them fallback positions where they can gracefully back down. And we just need to get more pressure on the Howards. And David Kraut lost cause. There's no way David's ever going to change, and you're not going to see him to even stop him. But if they now put I forget his name, the one Expo, Conway Expo, who they accidentally threw off the board. If they put him back, it's over, because he's going to be voting the way the Albany wants. Howard and David are going to be voting the way Albany wants. The chair and the budget director are going to be voting the way Albany wants. That's 5 people. That's majority. They will do what they want.
Right.
So we've got to put pressure on these guys.
So what would you suggest? We're a group here of 8 or 9 people who live here, and some of whom may not know how it even looks like.
Well,
Okay.
well,
I would suggest that a group get together and ask for the resident board members to have a meeting with all of us. There used to be a thing that we called conversations with the board, where the resident board members would get together and listen to the people before the board meeting. So they could tell us what's on the agenda. We could give them an idea of what we felt like. I would suggest that we do that again, that we invite the resident board members to come and speak with the residents and tell us, why are you voting the way you're voting? What are you doing?
What a great idea. So guess what I'm going to say next?
Would you like me to do that?
Yeah,
I have no problem doing it. I'm not sure I'm the best person, because I do stop them on the street and yell. It might be better if we had let's just say a person that they haven't interacted with as frequently as me, because I don't want them to think it's going to be an opportunity for me to tell them what I think about what they're doing, because I write them emails and everything all the time, so they know how I feel. But I think maybe a fresh face doing it would be a better idea. But let's hear from everybody else. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'd love to hear from folks here. Steve, anybody else? I see TRF has joined. I don't know who that is. Chloe, would love your thoughts on this. And raise your hand if you want to speak. Use the hand icon thing.
Oh, and I got to get my down.
well,
Anybody else want to jump in?
all I can say is that Margie's 100% right. We had conversations with the board, and they were very productive because we knew what was on the agenda. Also, the board, REAC board, has operations meetings and committee meetings. Operations meetings are public meetings, and this is how you find out what projects are in the works. That we have not had an operations meeting. I think they just appointed new people. And that's how you go and find out what's on the agenda, what projects they're planning, what the things are, and to make sure that we get public notification of these meetings, and we attend them, and we take notes, and we question them. That drives them crazy, questions. That is another way, because by the time stuff gets past operations or the real estate committee, it's too late. It's already been rubber stamped. So to find out when the next operations, real estate meeting, even audit committee meetings, they're all supposed to be public meetings. They just don't bother publicizing them. And I mean, I've learned more at operations meetings than I've learned anywhere else, because I love to go to these things and say, excuse me. And that's, it's an easier way also. It's a more informal setting,
So to go back to Margie's point, I may be sullied already, but I'm a fresher face. I've been here only 3 years, but I think I'm pretty much on their shit list as well. But do you think I should be asking, or somebody else should? Margie, please.
I think, yeah, I mean, you may be on the list. I don't know. I'm on mute. Am I not on mute? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, you may be on the list, Paul, but even you as the as a member or chair, I'm not sure which you are, of the CB8 committee, might have that impetus to get it. And Judy, I think you can tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think if either Judy or I do it, it's like same old, it's them again complaining. We don't want to listen to that. I think we need a new generation of folks trying to push for this stuff.
So question for you, Margie. I'm very happy to do this if that's the consensus here. Well, let me have Steve talk first. I want people here to talk.
Okay.
Steve.
Yeah, I'd be willing to try, but I think I would get even less far than, respected members of the community who are known to send out, requests for it. I think it'll be more like, who are you?
REAC has something called Report a Problem, and it's on their website, and it says report a problem, but you can send any comment in and just put a comment in there that you would like to be advised of the next operations committee meeting. You're not going to lose anything. And I mean, just people requesting when meetings are, you can even send it to Gretchen, the chief counsel. You can send an email, say, please advise me when the next operation, put me on the mailing list for operations committee meetings, because these things are usually announced, but they're announced in the you can't find the announcement. But I would try, see if you have a nice innocent face, you're someone new, and try it. I mean, you can't lose anything.
So back onto the bigger idea of getting a
Yeah.
meeting with the resident board members. Margie, question for you. If I were to do this, I would use the CB8 letterhead, or at least
Right.
but all I would
Yep.
think of doing is I'd write an email to the REOC board NY, which goes to all of them. Or is that a bad idea? What's the best way you think we should do it?
Yeah, I mean, each of them have individual email addresses that I could probably poke around a little and get for you.
That's a
And
better
I
way of
think,
doing it.
yeah, as the Roosevelt Island Committee, you can say you're asking the Roosevelt Island resident board members, not the entire board, because we want to talk to our people. So I will get you all of those email addresses, and then it'll be Howard and Faye and David and the other three new guys.
Brilliant. That would be helpful.
And that should get you.
Anything else on this one? Judy's hands up still, and Steve. Anything else? No? Let's take down hands so I don't get confused the whole time.
1 minute. I do
Yeah,
have some
I would just say a comment on, state representatives. I believe it was last year that Rebecca Seawright and Jose Serrano it wasn't 2022, it was 2021, passed resolutions in the state assembly and the Senate. Two resolutions, one related to elected representation on the REOC board, and the second, a requirement for the CEO to become a resident within 6 months of assuming the job. It passed unanimously in the Assembly and the Senate, but it was vetoed by the governor. So it's not going to go anywhere as much as their efforts are in very good faith on our behalf.
Right.
It gets shut down.
I want to say one thing on not giving up hope, because I think there's a great danger that we'll say, look, it's been going on for decades. It's very obvious that there's no interest from many people who care to get anything done, therefore we won't bother. And I want to take the opposite approach. I want us to give a push now. Right now, we have a great chance to motivate people who live on the island because of what's been going on with the F train and the conjunction of that with REOC being worse than usual, if that's possible. I think we have a lot of goodwill or bad, I'm not sure which one, but will from the people. So I want to take advantage of that right now. It may not amount to anything in the future, but I'm not going to take that approach now. Margie.
Yeah, I just want to second that. I don't think we should ever give up. I mean, if we give up, we'll never get it. So why not keep trying? But I think it's interesting that it was a Republican governor that gave us the actual majority, even though it was an appointed majority of people on the board. So maybe if we get a Republican in next, I'm not advocating voting Republican. I'm just saying we were very surprised.
I want to take this opportunity just to run down my notes so far. Maybe this is partly so Sharon and I can agree on what minutes are, but we're going to ask Matt and I, the MTA, for a meeting about the Q102, 104 at COLA. We may have some sort of resolution around that on this board and in due course. The second thing is asking for a meeting with the REOC resident directors, with us residents, and I'll take care of that with some help from Margie getting information. That's two things so far. Anything else people want to suggest or talk about? Margie, your hand's up still.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
I really want this to be a place where everyone is free just to make suggestions, however, unlikely they are to do anything for us. Yes.
Back again, I don't know if anybody's got any connections in the city, but two of the appointees are mayoral appointees. And it was very nice when Bloomberg was in office. Again, well, I was going to say Republican, but he was Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever flavor of the month. But he appointed residents, even though he appointed both of his seats he gave to residents, which he didn't have to. Possibly, if there's anybody that's got any connection in the city, they could start convincing the mayor's office to let us have our own little elections for those two seats. And maybe maybe it would show the governor it's not so bad. You could actually do this. Now, I don't know if it'll work. I'm just trying to, spin a fresh take on the whole thing.
All good ideas. Thank you. Judy.
I have something that's a different subject. So if we're finished with this.
Anything else on this subject? We're moving on to new business. Judy.
Well, you might have heard that they're finally opening the walkway in the East River between 59th Street and 53rd Street on the 19th.
Yes.
So we've stared at it long enough. We've driven over it. We've ridden by it. So I don't know if there's going to be a grand opening celebration. I think we're going to have to dunk Judy Schneider in the river after all these years, finally advocating for that park and getting it done. And I think it's really going to be an enhancement to people being able to see the island, so we'll get more visitors.
I think it's a wonderful esplanade. I know it's going to be opening on the 19th. I heard someone say yesterday that there will be a press and ribbon cutting opening. We don't know what the time is yet. I plan on going there with other people as well on the day and riding my bike down that thing, because I can't wait to use that. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, it's wide enough for a truck. It's it had to be fire department accessible. So it's a big wide promenade. It's nothing little and scrawny anymore.
It only cost $100 million. That's all right.
That's a big deal.
Thank you, Judy.
And as I said at the Parks Department meeting, there's no bathroom there. There's nothing all that whole length until you get up to the north end. In the true Parks Department operations, they didn't bother putting in any facilities. So don't drink before you go there.
Thank you. Sharon, you'd mentioned to me before the meeting that there was something you wanted to bring up in new business as well. Still muted. At least I can't hear you. Yeah, you look like you're muted still. Kevin, can we make sure Sharon's unmuted?
Sharon, are you receiving the prompt? Okay.
Yes. Okay, I got it. Thank you, Kevin. I understand that there is some movement to implement some infrastructure design improvements along the Queens Esplanade and Greenway, running from at least around Long Island City through Astoria Park. And I think that it would be a wonderful idea to support our neighbors. And I'm really bad with directions. It could be to the north, to the south. Can you tell me, Paul?
It's north. So you come out off the island,
north?
take a left, so you're going north.
Okay, thank you. I think it's great to support our neighbors to the north. Many of us ride up and down Vernon Boulevard. I don't have all the specifics yet, but what I can do is find out who is heading this up. I was actually in another meeting when I found out about this, and I'm hoping that either the committee or some Roosevelt Island residents might be interested in volunteering and just continuing to advocate for an improved greenway.
That's wonderful.
Especially along Vernon Boulevard.
Totally support that. And the answer is yes. As soon as you get details, don't mind shooting an email to me and I'll put you in touch with the person who I know in Astoria who works on stuff like this. But also I'd happily organize the folks on this island who like to use Vernon Boulevard. And it's a bit scary and bad right now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, Sharon. Anybody else have any other new business they want to bring up? So the other two things I want to remind you of, I'd love it, love it, love it. Please, if each of you can take responsibility for taking the petition and between now and the next 2 or 3 days, get 5 people to actually sign it. We'll get another 20 or 30 people. I'll probably go out on Saturday. I didn't go last Saturday. I got on Saturday again at the farmer's market. So come by and stop by and help. It'd be lovely. It's nice to chat to someone, not just doing it on my own. And the second thing would be if people can, when you find out, when I let this group know, or when you get the email about next month's meeting on the 18th, where we will certainly have the state senator and maybe likely our assembly member, please, please, please ask folks who care about what's going on here, and there are plenty of those, to come to that meeting. That's their opportunity to tell people who can actually do something about it. So please do that. Sharon, your hand is up. Anything else? No?
Okay. Just for the minutes, I was wondering who TRF was, and that individual didn't have a chance to introduce himself, and also Bruno.
So Bruno, if
Susan?
you wouldn't mind putting your camera on, if you're free to do that, and TRF, when we started the meeting, we went around to introduce ourselves. We'd love to hear from both of you, if you're able to.
Yeah, just wanted to have a name for the minutes. That's it.
Yeah, well, nice to meet you.
Hi, Bruno.
Hey, I'm a resident from 30 River Road. I'll not turn on my camera now, but yeah, next time probably yes.
Yeah, no
Brilliant.
worries. No
Nice
worries.
to meet you, Bruno.
30
Thank
River
you.
Road. I've been here for almost 2 years. I used to get the subway to Hudson Yards. Now I have to get the bus to Queens Bridge and then the 7. So yeah, I'm suffering a lot.
So Bruno, yesterday I went to Hudson Yards because I had a client meeting there, and it was remarkably quick. I timed it. I got the F train, the Q train, and then I took the 7 from Times Square. So it's three little things, but it was very quick actually. To I'd mention. Welcome, Bruno.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this will be an option. It's just one extra hop, but
Yeah.
probably I'll have to use this one after Q102 die.
It was shocking. It took me 25 minutes to get home from Hudson Yards yesterday. I was shocked how quick it was.
Yeah, well, I'm spending like 1 hour to
Oh,
get like 3 miles, 4 miles. It's crazy.
terrible. Judy, you're on mute still there.
Okay, I'll also spread the word at Kohler. I think after next week, because no one is in the mood for any of this. They're
Yeah.
in the midst of all kinds of things the next 2 weeks, and so after Christmas, and I really think one of our public service things is helping our neighbors who still don't know how easy a way is to get off the island. There's so many people who still don't, that should be part of understand what the Q train is, what the shuttle is, because I find so many people are still schlepping on the tram and doing all kinds of things. And, it just as a public service, we should spread the word that there are easier ways to get around. And I want to wish everyone a happy last day of Hanukkah, happy Christmas,
Thank you.
Kwanzaa, happy New Year. And I will actually be off the island for a few days. I know it's
Good.
amazing, but I will go
Hope
on
it's somewhere
vacation.
warm.
No. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Last thing thank you, Judy. Last thing I want to say is that point about the January switchover of the tracks. We actually got an official announcement from the MTA directly. The other thing you should realize is when they do the switchover that weekend, that means that weekend, January 6th and 7th, we no F train at all. They'd warned us about this coming, and that's the weekend it's going to come when they do a switchover. I think that's it for the meeting. I want to keep it as tight as we can. There's no point in carrying on. Thank you all for coming here. Please encourage your friends, those of you who come for the first time. This is your community board. I want to make this a forum for people to come. It'll work only if people do come and join in. So please encourage. Thank you, everyone, and I wish you all a good evening.